Hi guys, welcome or welcome back to my channel. What is that mark on my face? In today's video, I really wanted to film my kind of ultimate foundation slash base makeup routine. So this is going to be what I would actually do and the products that I would actually choose if I was going out and I wanted my makeup to be super glam and last really long. Obviously on my Instagram and my YouTube, I'm constantly trying to change up the products and techniques that I'm using because I don't want it to be boring and repetitive, and obviously I want to try new things. Sorry about the dog. But these products I'm going to be using in today's video are kind of like my top picks from everything. So these are what I would actually use and what I would personally choose, and I think are my favourites to do for my base makeup routine. I feel like I explained that really weird. I hope that makes sense. I've been doing my base makeup slightly different to how I previously have done it in the past. I've been doing a little bit more baking and kind of using different techniques that I kind of didn't really use probably like 6 months ago, for example. So I just wanted to film an updated video. I have got one of these already on my channel somewhere, but I'm sure my techniques have completely changed since then, so I'm going to film it again. So I'm not going to be doing my eyes in this video or my brows or my lips. I'm literally just going to be focusing on my face. If you wanted a separate video for brows or for lips or whatever, just let me know and I can film that in the future. But yeah, let's just get on into the video. So I'm just going to start by clipping the hairs back. People always ask me where I get these little clips from. These are just from Amazon. I got a pack of 6, but I literally lost the other 4, so we're down to 2 now. Oh yeah, I always forget to say in the beginning of the video, I don't know why, but if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe. It really helps me out, and also give the video a thumbs up. And if you don't already follow me on Instagram, I post on there every single day. So if you wanted more kind of regular content, I post makeup videos, all of that good stuff on my Instagram every single day. It will be on the screen now. So let me zoom you in a tad. Oh, now we're not level. Frick. I'm finding it really hard to get my camera angles right today. I don't know what it is, but my tripod is really stressing me out. Can't get it right. Is that okay? That'll have to do. Okay, so obviously I'm going to start off with moisturiser, because moisturiser is obviously extremely important when starting out with any makeup look, especially when you want your base to be like flawless. So this one I've been really enjoying. To tell you the truth, I actually use so many different moisturisers on the daily, so I like quite a few different moisturisers. However, this one has been probably one of my current favourite like top picks. This is by the brand called Avant, which isn't a brand that I had heard of before trying this product, and this is the Hyaluronic Vitamin C. I can't read the rest of that, but it'll be on the screen. This is a Supreme Hyaluronic Acid Antioxidizing Duo Moisturiser. I got this in a glossy box and it is incredible. It's such a nice formula and it doesn't leave my skin feeling greasy, so it's perfect for before makeup. This moisturiser is actually quite expensive. I did look up the price. Obviously, like I said, I got it in my glossy box, so I didn't pay like full price for this, but I believe this moisturiser is over £100, which is extortionate for a moisturiser. But if you are in the market for a high-end kind of really nice luxurious feeling moisturiser, this one is really nice, and it's kind of got a little bit more of a light gel texture as well. So if you do suffer with more kind of oilier skin, I feel like it could work for you as well. Just for reference, by the way, I do have kind of more, no, I do have very normal skin, to be honest. I'm very lucky with my skin. It's very normal. However, I do sometimes get a little bit more dehydrated and dry, and then I can sometimes in the summer get a little bit oily on my T-zone, but for the most part I'm quite normal to dry. And you just want to make sure you take it right down your neck as well, because obviously we're going to be dragging a little bit of a foundation down there just to kind of blend it in. So obviously you want to take your moisturiser anywhere that you plan to put foundation. Okay, so at this stage you could potentially go in with a primer. However, to be honest with you, when I'm just doing my makeup when I would usually go out, I actually don't use a primer. I find that a moisturiser is fine. Unless I'm using a specific foundation that does require a specific primer, I don't feel like I need to wear a primer that much. So I'm not going to put one on today because I usually wouldn't put a primer on. I'm just going to go straight into my base product. I'm actually going to use a CC cream. This one is the It Cosmetics CC cream, which I have spoke about this loads before. As you can see, mine is completely used and abused. I did speak about this in my recent favourites video. This is just a really lovely kind of foundation. It's kind of light to medium coverage, but I feel like you can also build it up to a little bit more of a full coverage as well. Colour is a little bit off for me. It's a tiny bit dark, but we can work with it. So I'm just going to start off with one pump and then see how I get on, and then I might add another pump or half a pump depending. I'm going to use my favourite foundation brush. This is the Real Techniques 302 brush. I've spoken about this a few few times now. This is my favourite brush for applying foundation. Mine actually is in desperate need of a wash, so at this current moment in time, it's not really applying my foundation the best because it's kind of like caked up with product, but that's my own fault. But usually this brush is like amazing for applying foundation. So yeah, as you can see, this colour is not perfect for me. I don't want to hear it in the comments, oh, the colour doesn't even match. I know. I need to get it in a lighter shade, but I actually really like the tone of this foundation, and once I've blended it down my neck, you really can't really tell. This time of year, you know, I'm just wearing jumpers and stuff, turtlenecks for the majority of the time, so you can't tell whether my face is darker than my body. You can't tell. So I'm just going to do it, and I'm going to live my best tan life, even though I'm literally a ghost. I'm just going to blend this into my skin. I'm going to do nothing kind of revolutionary here. I'm just going to sort of use tapping motions to blend that product into the skin. I've used probably about half a pump, and that's covered this side of my face. I really love the kind of finish of this foundation as well. It's kind of like a natural glowy finish. It's not overly glowy to where it looks kind of wet and sticky. It's just a really lovely natural finish foundation once it kind of dries down a bit more, and it lasts really well on my skin as well. Like, it really does last good throughout the day. Obviously, as I said, I'm going to be taking that down my neck, and then I'm probably just going to use another half pump for my forehead because I have used up that whole pump now. So I'm just going to take like literally the tiniest little bit and use that on my forehead. So yeah, this is what the IT Cosmetics kind of looks like applied on the skin. As you can see, you can still see like my beauty marks through, and it's kind of given me more of a medium coverage, but I actually prefer that to a full coverage because then I can just go in with concealer and add more coverage to the areas I feel like I need it, and then that way my foundation and my overall face is going to look a lot more natural. So my favourite kind of concealer to use, and the concealer that I would use out of kind of my own choice, which everything is my choice, but you know what I mean. So this is the Too Faced, this is the Better, no it's not, this is the Born This Way. The letters have rubbed off, so I don't even know what it's bloody called anymore. This is the Born This Way concealer. I've had this for so long, the colour has actually slightly oxidised now. I should probably get a new one because I've had it for that long. It's such a big like tube of concealer, so I feel like that's why it's just lasted me so long. I have this in the shade Snow, and this is just a really lovely kind of full coverage creamy concealer. I don't find that it tends to crease that much on me, and I just absolutely love this one. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm basically just going to take this underneath my eye. So I kind of feel like I suffer with quite dark under eyes, whether you guys think I do or not. My under eyes is an area where I'm quite sort of not self-conscious about, but I don't really like my under eyes. I do feel like they're quite dark, so I do like to take quite a lot of concealer right over where that kind of darkness is, which is basically exactly where I've put my concealer now. And then I do like to do this little thing at the moment where I kind of take my concealer out slightly at the corner of my eye, just kind of in the same direction that I would put like my winged liner, for example, and this way it just helps to kind of lift my eye up and help my eye to look really lifted. So usually when I'm doing my makeup to go out, this is the only areas where I usually put concealer. If you ever see me kind of putting it down my nose or on my chin or anything like that, sometimes I will do that in real life, but usually I just kind of do that because it looks cool for Instagram. But yeah, usually I just do kind of this amount of concealer, and what I like to do now is go in with cream bronzer while this is on my face. So I'm not going to blend this out just yet. I'm actually just going to leave it to kind of like sit on my skin, and basically what this is going to do is it's going to allow the concealer to dry down slightly, so when you come to blend it, it's going to be able to sort of stay where you put it a little bit easier rather than just blending it all over the place when it's really kind of creamy and slippery. I'm going to go in with cream bronzer now. I'm going to be using the Huda Beauty Tantor. I have this in the shade Fair. I really love this cream bronzer. It's a really lovely formula. It blends so beautifully, and this colour for me is literally perfection. I do actually have quite a few kind of cream bronzers or contour sticks or whatever you want to call them that I love. For example, I love my Benefit Hoola Quickie contour stick. I love my MAC foundation stick that I have in NW45. I use those regularly as well, but if I had to pick my favourite kind of cream bronzing method or product, it would be this one. I absolutely love this. I think this is the cheapest out of both of them as well. So I kind of switch up what brush I actually use for my cream bronzer quite a lot, actually, more so than my other brushes. But the brush that I'm actually going to use today is again by Real Techniques, and this is from their kind of like weird rose gold pointy range. You know the one I mean? It's kind of a little bit more expensive than their normal range, but this brush is really nice for cream bronzer. It's the brush 300 because it's got a little bit more of a tapered kind of top. It allows you to really focus the product where you want it, but then the other bristles around the outside really help to blend. So I do actually really enjoy this brush. It does need clean, as do all of my brushes, but we're not going to talk about that. So I'm just going to take a little bit of product on this brush. You want to start off with a little bit. When I say a little bit, I'm even taking the excess off of my hand, because if you go in with too much of this, you are going to find it quite hard to blend it out. But if you go in with a little bit, you can always kind of build it up. So I'm going to kind of start just above where the hollow of my cheek is. So this is more of a kind of bronzer slash contour for me. I don't really contour too much. I just kind of, I don't know, chisel out my face with more of a bronzer. So that is why I'm going a tiny bit higher than the actual hollow of my cheek. And I'm just going to kind of press this into my skin. Also, when you go slightly higher with your bronzer, it means that it is probably going to end up in the hollow of your cheek anyway, because by the time you actually blend it out, it's going to move down a little bit. Whereas if you start it in the hollow of your cheek, by the time you've blended it, it's going to end up kind of down here, and then it's going to end up pulling your face down and not making your face look, you know, nice and lifted and contoured. It's actually probably going to do the opposite. So you need to be very careful where you're actually placing your product, and you need to bear in mind that you're going to be blending it. So yeah, start it probably a little bit higher up than you usually would, and in that way you've got room to blend. So as you can see, that's blending really easily. And obviously once I blend in my concealer, I'm probably going to end up blending over this a little bit anyway, but that is when we can go back in with our brush and just kind of retouch it up. Because it's cream, it's really easy to move around. So I'm going to hit this bronzer around my forehead. I literally will never do a makeup look without putting bronzer around my forehead. I just find that it looks really nice on my face. It kind of gives my face a little bit more of a kind of tanned look. Just be a little bit careful with doing this though, because if you do have a slightly smaller forehead, this will essentially make your forehead look a little bit smaller. So if you've got a small forehead anyway, you're probably not going to want to put too much bronzer around your hairline. Okay, so where my nose is concerned, I've spoke about this a million times before, but I'm not really one to contour my nose. So basically what I do is, because I don't like to leave my nose just completely bronzer free, because then I feel like it just doesn't, I don't know, it looks a bit too pale on my face. I do just take whatever is left on that brush after we've kind of blended out our bronzer, and I'm just going to take it down the sides of my nose. This isn't precise, it isn't, I don't even really feel like this is like contouring my nose as such, but I do just feel like it kind of helps it to kind of blend in a little bit better with the rest of my face, and I do prefer the way my nose looks when I do this. But yeah, it's nothing kind of special really. And then I just take a little bit on the end, and that's pretty much all I do for my nose. Now what I do is take my really dirty sponge. This is the Juno & Co sponge. So I'm just going to blend out this concealer. Because we kind of left it there for a bit, it will have kind of dried down a little bit, so it's going to stay, like I said, it's going to stay more in that actual area that we need it, which we want. We don't want to be blending it over our whole face, you know. I know we're looking a little bit crazy at the moment, guys, but this is a trust the process moment, okay? You need to just bear with me. It will come together, I hope. And to be honest, a little bit of this concealer goes a long way, so I probably did actually use too much. Like I probably didn't even need the amount I used. But like I said, I do like my concealer to be quite full coverage underneath my eyes, because that is my sort of problem area. Okay, so now we're at this kind of stage. What I like to do is turn my sponge over, so this is where it's got sort of barely any product. And I just like to sort of tap over those edges just to kind of mesh the foundation, the bronzer and the concealer all in together. And as you can see, just even doing a few taps just helps that to blend so much easier. Okay, so once we get to this kind of stage where the concealer is nice and blended, obviously as you can see we've got a little bit of kind of unblendedness here where the bronzer kind of just looks a bit weird. So I'm going to take that same bronzer brush we used, and I'm just going to kind of pat over the edges of that just to kind of reapply that bronzer in that area, because obviously if you tap over with concealer it's going to get lost a little bit. And then I just like to take a little bit whatever's left over on the side of my eye here, which does help to blend that concealer line that we put down, and also just to help sort of give the illusion that your eye is more lifted as well. So what I like to do for the bottom bit here, because as you can see this does look a little bit unblended, I'm just going to take the foundation brush that we used. This has got no extra product on it as well. I'm just going to kind of tap over that area just so that it doesn't look like a harsh line where we put the bronzer. And this will also make sure that if your bronzer has gone a little bit low, you can kind of correct it with your foundation as well. Okay, so once we're at this stage, this kind of section is completely optional. I haven't always done this and I don't always do this, but recently I've been loving baking. I know baking is a little bit of a controversial makeup technique. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people don't really know what it does, but I am going to bake in today's video, and if you don't know what that is, then I'll obviously show you. I just feel like personally it makes my face look a little bit more snatched, and it just gives the illusion that my face is a little bit more kind of contoured. I just prefer the way my makeup has been coming out recently when I do bake my face. The powder that I'm going to use to bake is the HMB Cosmetics. This is the Soft Focus Loose Powder. I have mine in the shade 02 Translucent. I always like to use a translucent powder, just purely because if the powder has got colour, it can sometimes look a little bit too pale or a little bit too dark. So if it's translucent, you're kind of good. So I like to get some product in the lid of the product, the packaging. I used to just do this with a normal sponge, but I actually bought a pack of these kind of smaller sponges from Primark. I think it was like £2.50 for a pack of 4, and these are really good for baking because it allows you to kind of get the product exactly where you want it rather than it going over your whole face if you use a big sponge. So I really recommend using these smaller sponges if you are going to bake. So I'm just going to make sure all of the creases are tapped out under my eyes, because the last thing I want to be doing is setting the creases into place, because my eyes do crease really easily. And then what I'm going to do is get quite a generous amount of product on my sponge, and I'm literally going to kind of bend my face down and look into the mirror. This way the creases are kind of stretched out, and then I'm going to place that product right under my eye. You can use as little or as much as you want for this. So I like to kind of go down the sides of my nose, and this kind of helps to give the illusion that I've contoured my nose as well when I haven't. And I just kind of pull that powder out, basically where we put the concealer. So I'm going to just kind of pull out this area here. Once we brush this off after it's been on the skin for a few minutes, it will leave your under eye or wherever you've put the powder looking a lot kind of brighter. And if anyone is worried about it looking very cakey, with some foundations and some concealers, this technique will make your face look cakey. However, I do have a tip for that in a second that I will show you. And also it depends on the powder that you're using. So make sure you're using either a baking powder that's specifically made for baking, or just a powder that's very finely milled. You don't want to be using anything that's too kind of cakey and chunky, because then of course it will look cakey. This one is really nice because it isn't cakey, it's very finely milled, so it is perfect for baking. And this one's only £13.50 as well, so if you're in the market for a new good loose powder, I do highly recommend this one. What I like to do now, and again I don't always do this but I have been doing it recently, is I like to take a bit more powder and I kind of go underneath where I put that contour, and I kind of bake underneath there. Sometimes this looks a little bit strange because it gives me kind of like a line, but then I can just easily blend it out with a bit of powder bronzer. But I do like doing this just because I feel like it kind of helps me to reverse contour. That is kind of the typical areas I would bake on my face. I sometimes do down the bridge of my nose, but I'm not going to do that today because I don't really feel like I want to. I am going to leave this to kind of sit on my skin for a few minutes, and I'm just going to quickly go off camera, do my brows. By the time I've done my brows, we can come back and we can kind of get rid of this bake. So yeah, I'm just going to quickly do my brows and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just did my brows and my bake has been on for more than long enough, so I am going to kind of wipe it off now. Sometimes I only leave it on for literally like a few seconds, but sometimes I do my brows. It completely depends on like the order that I decide to do my makeup in. But yeah, as you can see, it kind of just brightens that area and just leaves that kind of area of my face looking a little bit more chiseled and contoured. It isn't an everyday, like this isn't, by the way, I think I said this isn't my everyday makeup. This is my glam makeup. Like this is if I'm going out. That's all nice and wiped away. Let me get really close. So this is what my skin looks like. Obviously it doesn't really look too cakey because that powder is so finely milled that it looks fine. Obviously you can tell that I'm wearing, you know, a fair bit of makeup, but there's a difference between being able to tell you're wearing makeup and looking cakey, you know? So now what I'm going to do is whatever is left on that brush, I'm just going to basically powder my forehead, just because this area of my face is quite matte. So if I leave this quite glowy, it does look a bit strange. So I'm just going to kind of lightly tap over with whatever's left, tap over that cream bronzer as well. And then I tend to just go over my eyelids, just so they're a little bit more matte as well. Okay, so if I am feeling really extra and I really want to kind of take up a notch and look even more kind of chiseled, contoured, bronzed, all of that good stuff, I do go in with a little bit more powder bronzer, just to more so set down that cream bronzer, but to add a little bit more depth and kind of like make it even more contoured. I always just feel like a little bit like Kim K when I do this kind of makeup. I don't know why, it just gives me like Kim K vibes. So I am going to just add a tiny little bit of bronzer today because, you know, why not? I might as well do it now we're here. This one I've been really enjoying. This is by the brand NYC, and this is this smooth skin bronzing face powder in the shade Sunny. Not even a word of a lie, I've had this bronzer since I was about 15, and you can probably tell because it's been used quite a bit. I have so many bronzers, but actually this one was so inexpensive when I did buy it, like literally 7 years ago. But it's so good, it's such a good colour, it blends so easily. So I don't know if you can even still get this. I really hope you can, but I will try and link it below if I can find it. It's such a good bronzer. So I'm going to take this brush here. This is again by HNB Cosmetics, which is Holly Boone's brand. This is a really nice blush and bronzer brush, and I like it because it's quite flat, so you can really kind of focus that product where you want it. So I'm going to just take a little bit of that. There is really not that much on the brush, to be honest, and I'm just going to kind of go over the area where we cream bronzed. I do also like doing this because sometimes I find if the bake does look a little bit strong, this just kind of helps to blend out that line and just makes it look a little bit more natural. So if the bake does make your face look a little bit weird, then this will just allow everything to kind of blend in a little bit better with each other. So we are bronzed, we are contoured. So next I like to apply my blush. I have so many blushes that I love, and to be honest I really enjoy just switching out my blushes all the time, completely depending on obviously like what look I'm doing on my eyes and lips and all that kind of stuff. But really recently I've been loving this Fenty Beauty one. This is the Kilowatt highlighter in the shade Ginger Binge and Moscow Mule. I spoke about this again in my recent favourites video, so this is going to kind of sound a little bit repetitive if you watch that, but this is basically a highlighter that is more of a blush for me personally, and I've just been really enjoying using it for blush, so I'm going to be using this today. I'm going to take the same brush, the HNB one, because I really like this for both blush and bronzer, and I'm going to just take a mixture of the two shades on that. And I'm just going to apply this to my cheeks. I like to apply this quite high on my cheek, so almost kind of dragging it upwards rather than bringing it on the apple of my cheek. I just like doing this because I feel like it suits my face best, and also because I find that it just helps with that overall kind of lifted look that I want to go for. And then I do kind of like blend it into this area of my face just so that there's no harsh lines. But as you can see, it's just a really lovely pink colour. It's obviously got a glow because this is supposed to be a highlighter, and on a darker skin tone this would be an amazing highlighter, but for me personally obviously it's a blush. I do just like to take a little bit over my nose just to give that kind of sun-kissed look. I know it's not summer and no one's really going anywhere to get a sun-kissed look, but I still like to do this because I just feel like it kind of blends everything in a little bit better and doesn't look just like you've got two pink cheeks and then everywhere else is, you know, a different colour. Now, if you do get to this stage in your makeup and you do feel like a little bit of a clown, or you've applied too much product, whether that be bronzer or blusher, I feel like I've probably applied a little bit too much up here because you can see a little bit of a line. I'm just going to take my powder brush. So a really good trick is to just take the brush that you use for your powder and basically just blend right over where you feel like you've applied a little bit too much or a little bit of a harsh line, and it should just help you to blend everything out and just make it look a little bit more seamless. I like to sometimes do this like down here as well. Okay, next for highlighter, again I spoke about this in my favourites video, but these are genuinely like my favourite products at the moment, so these are what I would pick if I was doing my makeup for a glam event or whatever. This is the Wet n Wild Mega Glow highlighter in the shade Blossom Glow. As I said in that video, this is a very kind of pinky toned highlighter, so when I'm actually wearing this blush, as it is quite pink, this highlighter does match with it really well, and I do think I'm going to do more of a pinky lip today, so I'm going to go in with this one. This highlighter is pretty beaming, so I'm just going to be careful to apply it just a kind of little bit at a time, and again I can always build it up, and I'm obviously just going to apply that right to the kind of top of my cheek. You really don't need to press your brush in hard at all to get like a lot of product out, so I've probably already applied too much, but whatever. I'm just going to kind of blend that onto my skin. Again, obviously as this is a more glam look, I do like my highlighter to be quite beaming. This isn't the most natural looking highlighter in the world, or it isn't the most natural looking makeup, but I do like for a night out, or if I'm going to the bar or whatever, I do like my highlighter to be quite blingy. I am actually thinking of filming tomorrow, so that will be up as like my next video, a kind of no makeup look. So if you are someone that is interested in more kind of natural makeup and you're not really into the full glam kind of like this situation, then I am probably going to film that tomorrow, and that will be up as my next video. So just keep an eye out for that if you are more of a natural person when it comes to makeup. Another step that I always like to incorporate into my routine as well when doing this kind of more full glam, I've used a lot of creams and a lot of powders and all that kind of stuff. So my face has got quite a lot of makeup on it at this point. I personally don't think my face necessarily looks cakey. However, if you do get to this stage in your makeup and you do feel like your makeup is very detectable on your skin and you can see quite a lot of kind of like powdery patches and things like that, then your best friend is going to be a good setting spray or fixing spray or whatever you want to call them. I have so many I love. I love the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I love my Charlotte Tilbury one, the new one that's just come out. But the one that I've got today is actually just the good old-fashioned MAC Fix Plus. This one is in a limited edition cucumber scent, but it's exactly the same kind of formula and everything. So I'm just going to kind of spray this all over my skin, and this will basically just help to mesh all of the products together and just make them look more like actual skin and just look a little bit more seamless and glowy. So yeah, and as you can see, my face is dripping. I do like to spray quite a lot of this product, probably even sprayed more than I usually would. I don't really know why, but obviously you just want to allow your face to dry. It kind of looks like I've just ruined everything, but once it dries, it does, in my personal opinion, look a lot better than if you didn't do this step. So I'm just going to kind of fan it with my mirror. Right guys, so my face is pretty much completely dry at this point. It probably will dry down even a little bit more over the next few minutes, but this is the finished kind of skin look effect. I personally love the way my skin looks like this. I love doing my face a little bit more glam and then doing something a tiny bit more natural on my eyes with some little corner lashes, a nude lip, and that for me is my perfect kind of makeup look. So let me zoom you in as well so you can really see my skin up close. As you can see, I've still got a little bit of glow. That's mostly from the highlighter and obviously the setting spray, but even if you look under my eyes, I don't really think that it looks cakey because I did that bake. So yeah, that is my kind of full glam face finished. I'm not going to do, as I said, my eyes, my lips in this video, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please do give it a thumbs up if you did, and also subscribe. That would be amazing, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.